ça, j'aime ça. Un petit graphique avec des options. Puis ce qui semble être un petit peu de chiffres. Oh, OK.
Je pense qu'ils ont oublié de mettre des X strategy, market share by X% in Y years.
Ouais. Essayez de dire ça.
Hey, comment ça va?
Hey, salut!
Ça va?
Oui.
Oui.
Et toi?
Oui, ça va bien.
Salut, Valérie.
On est très contents d'être ici.
Enchanté.
Bonjour.
Bonjour,
Salut.
Noémie.
Pas personne pour regarder.
Bonjour, bienvenue au club des commerces internationaux. Préférez-vous les inscriptions en français?
English.
English, please? Yep. So, each team has 24 minutes to present its case to the judges. The time is indicated on the timer as a countdown. In case of a problem, I will indicate the remaining time with posters. The first 12 minutes are protected. The judges cannot interfere during that period. The next 10 minutes are not protected. The beginning of this period will be announced with this bell. When the not protected period will end, I will ring the bell again. The judges have the possibility to interrupt the presentation during this period to ask clarification questions about the subject addressed at that moment. The judge has 15 seconds to ask his questions, and the judges can only ask one question per slide. The team needs to answer the question, but can resume the presentation without the judge's approbation. The judges cannot ask questions on subjects that were already covered or that were not presented yet. These questions should be addressed during the period of questions. The last 2 minutes of the presentation are protected and should be used to conclude the presentation. If you do not end the presentation after 24 minutes, I will stop to move on to the period of questions. A period of questions of a maximum duration of 5 minutes is assigned to the jury at the end of the presentation. I would like to remind the jury that it's mandatory to ask at least one question during this period. Please note that you cannot reveal the name or city of your university, as you may be disqualified. I will now invite the judges to introduce themselves.
Okay, so hi, I'm Val. I'm a specialist for marketing communications at Bell, working for small business segment.
Hi, my name is Ariane. I work as an operations manager at Bell in the business unit where we dispatch technicians, where they install services to the residential markets such as LTV.
Hi, I'm Nicolas Siou. I'm in finance at Bell.
Hi, Olivier Royard-Guerrier, Country Manager, Procter & Gamble Professional.
So whenever you guys are ready.
Alors, bonjour à tous. Je m'appelle Laurie et je suis ici avec mes collègues Noémie et Alim aujourd'hui. On est l'équipe N et on est très heureux d'être ici aujourd'hui pour vous présenter notre stratégie Shift qui sera le futur des 5 prochaines années pour AltTV à Bell Canada. Donc, on tient d'abord à vous remercier de votre présence en ce vendredi matin dans la belle ville de Lévis pour écouter notre stratégie. Alors, sans plus tarder, je vais vous donner l'agenda de notre présentation aujourd'hui. So we're going to start with our current situation, where Bell is at the moment, and what they're looking for in their expansion strategy for the upcoming years. Then we're going to walk you through our opportunity statement, our recommendation, then our financials that will really back up our strategy that will be implemented in the next couple of years, and then the implementation of that strategy, and we will finish everything off with our key takeaways.
So looking at where Bell is currently right now, you're a leading provider in Canada for communications, which is great, and you want to internationalize. But there's several things that are going to limit this, which is that the telecommunications internationally have more of a product offering than you currently do. And while Bell and AltTV seems revolutionary in Canada, and it is, in other parts of the world there are already live streaming TV services that offer more than Bell is currently right now. There's also significant limiting factors such as regulations present in all of these countries, and this includes having state-owned telecommunications monopolies, as well as having a lack of content rights for several streaming services, such as sports. So for this, we suggest that you actually don't focus on the international market, but actually focus on the opportunity that we have right here in Canada, which is that 1 out of 5 Canadians are visible minorities or immigrants. And this is a segment severely underutilized right now by AltTV and Bell. And this also includes people that can't exactly speak the language English very well or prefer other product offerings rather than just simply Canadian Francophone or English television channels. So another thing that we're taking into consideration is that AI is the greatest incremental value to Bell and presents a business challenge, which is why we really want to utilize AI and ML in your AltTV offering to gather data on these immigrants of Canada and really target that market and focus on content users instead of just simply internet users. So the opportunity that we'll present to you today is that through our shift strategy of decoupling AltTV and utilizing AI and ML in order to focus on the Canadian market rather than internationalization, Bell Canada will increase market share by a CAGR of 18% in 5 years and position itself as a one-stop shop for Canadians' content needs. So our strategy is focusing on the Canadian market instead of internationalization. So the first part is to decouple AltTV. The second would be to utilize AI to personalize the product offering to the Canadian segment that's severely underutilized right now. And the third is to differentiate from your current competitors in the market and dominate.
So if we look first at the decoupling AltTV from fiber, we came up to that conclusion after you asking us to look into the importance of having those two services together, and came back to the conclusion that it would be more beneficial for Bell Canada to actually decouple those two services. And here are the reasons why. So first off, we could expand the market to more internet users, because then the users wouldn't have to have the Bell in Canada internet services in order to have also the streaming services. Moreover, it's a relatively small one-time setup cost of 5 million. So actually decoupling those two services would only cost 5 million to the company, which might seem like a lot, but in the long term, it comes to an insignificant amount. Moreover, we will follow Netflix example, who is the actual leader in streaming services in Canada, by lowering buffering at all costs. Moreover, we will utilize dominant position in the Canadian market to really segment different niche markets that we will target with our AI component, which we will talk a bit more in our strategy later on our presentation. And also, we will need less updates after the decoupling will have happened. Okay. Oh, okay. And we will also be able to aggregate more data from our users, because we will get more users. We will be able to get more data with our AI, and then really be able to segment those customers and be able to make recommendations for them, especially in the niche markets with the Chinese population in Canada, the Punjabi population in Canada, which we will cover a bit more over later. If I can touch more about why we think we will be able to expand our market a bit more, is because at the moment we really need to buy those two services together. And if we take the example of Quebec, where the two dominant internet providers are Videotron and Bell, if we decouple LTV, even if a user were to switch to Videotron for cost reasons or whatever other reason, they can still be with our LTV, because we offer a differentiated offering with a lot of content and really targeted content for those specific users with our AI.
Now, this second aspect of AltTV is one thing that Bell is really focusing on with the research and development, is artificial intelligence combined with machine learning. Now, artificial intelligence at Bell is being used for more than just AltTV, everything from their field services to customer operations segments. Now, looking specifically at AltTV, one of the main concerns that Bell had was that the Canadian market was too small of a sample size. However, this is when we're looking at the context of the entire world of 7 billion people. Looking at the Canadian market, we believe that Bell's current customer database is more than enough to train an AI model and test it out to target personalized marketing offers, with the most important factor being not the sample size, but having a balanced test set, having something that truly represents these ethnic minorities, these opportunities for Bell to represent, and seeing what current minorities enjoy watching and targeting advertisements towards them on the basis mainly of content. Now, we're also planning on using AI not only to segment marketing on the basis of content, but also on the basis of consumer behavior. Now, being students, we don't exactly have the highest budgets. So every year when my cell phone bill comes up for renewal, I call up all the other providers, I try and see what's the best offer, and if it's something that's $10 cheaper, I'll spend many hours on the phone trying to negotiate it. And I know I'm not alone. I know many people, both of my age and people with higher incomes and just less time, still bother to do this just for the monetary savings. Now, Bell can leverage this by using artificial intelligence to identify these consumers, the people who switch every year, the people who see promotions and call the retentions department. And by doing so, we can use AI to proactively reach out to these customers. You can offer them a $5 discount and to save hours on the phone negotiating with Bell, with Videotron, with whatever other companies. People are willing to take a smaller discount for the sake of convenience, which is going to be one of the two recurring themes throughout this strategy: convenience alongside content. Now, with AI in mind, I'd like to take a step back and introduce you to someone that I know personally. This is my grandmother. Now, it's not an actual photo, but yeah. So my grandma, she's been in Canada for about 30 years. She's a Pakistani immigrant. Now, she loves watching Pakistani shows. However, they're not on our cable box at home. As a result, she has two options to do so. Either she watches them on YouTube through some she's behind the times, she doesn't get to catch up on latest episodes, or she buys a black market streaming box, that Android box, where she pays about $10 a month to get access to these unlimited feeds. However, there's an opportunity here for Belle. She loves watching it on her iPad. She loves having the convenience. And I know for a fact, being her personal tech support, I would love it for her to have access to something like Alt TV, where it's just one application where she can access these different Pakistani shows and meet her content needs. After all, my grandmother isn't necessarily a heavy internet user, as Belle's identified Alt TV customers to be, but actually what we believe Alt TV customers and Bell customers overall really are, a content consumer. After all, we may not be heavy internet users, but every single one of us in this room, and I bet in this building, consume content every single day. And that is one of the two main things that Bell provides. Now, with this idea of content in mind, we believe that this shift strategy is an opportunity for Bell to dominate the Canadian market. Now, if you look at the next slide, so there's two ways that Bell can use Alt TV to differentiate. Firstly, let's look at the live TV aspect of Alt TV. This is where Bell is competing with existing telecom companies. You know the type, Rogers, TELUS, Videotron. However, Bell's biggest advantage is the content here. Their exclusivity with things such as Game of Thrones. If I want to watch Showtime, I only have Bell if I would like to watch it on my phone and not have to deal with a streaming site or some website I'm worried might give me viruses. On top of this, Bell is scalable throughout the country. Videotron and its services are only available here in Quebec, Rogers is Ontario, and TELUS with its competing products are only available in the West Coast. However, Bell, when I move between provinces and after university to get another job, if I move out of town, I can remain a Bell customer. Now finally, and most importantly, Bell also offers convenience. There's no additional hardware needed. Unlike, for example, competitors such as TELUS, which require a $100 TV box just to access their Pick TV app for live TV, Bell requires a minute just to go on your phone, download it, and this convenience is a big factor, ensuring that customers it's easy for them to switch to Bell and ensures that they stick with Bell just for the sake of convenience. Now, the second competitor are the new kids on the block, people such as Netflix and Prime Video. This is where the idea of convenience becomes a big factor. Now, the reason that Netflix just exploded onto the scene when it first came on and led to a decrease in torrenting and free streaming was the fact that people are willing to pay a small amount in exchange for having one website where they can find all the titles. However, over the last few years, as we can see, the content market has become highly fragmented. Look at Netflix. When it first came to Canada, it had everything from Disney titles to originals to action movies. And now, if I want to go on Netflix, I'm using it to watch a movie such as a TV show such as The Office. Well, if I want to go watch 30 Rock, I have to use Prime Video. Well, if I want to watch Game of Thrones, I have to use Crave TV. And it's just confusing and it's annoying. And I know personally, I'm willing to pay for convenience, and many people are. That's why they paid for services such as Netflix. That's why they choose to use Alt TV. And when they can get the same content for free illegally online, convenience trumps all alongside. And we plan on dominating this segment of the market with not only emphasizing Bell's convenience, but also leveraging Bell's ability to purchase content. Companies such as Disney are currently taking their content off Netflix, creating their own streaming services. And this is especially prominent in the United States, which is a market of 300 million people. Now, something such as Disney, if they want to bring the streaming service to Canada, a country full of 30 million people, they're going to have to go through CRTC regulations and have to make sure that they have all the rights in this new country. Bell can take advantage of this opportunity by easing Disney's way, buying up these rights, and buying these rights while they're still available, and showing that Bell's been a partner of Disney for so many years before Netflix came around, and they still can be, and take advantage of these unique and exclusive content opportunities in the future.
So now, if we look into the marketing strategy, so how are we going to make people aware in Canada of our Alt TV, and why is it better than every other streaming services? So first of all, we're really going to target the niche segments of our market by sponsoring sports events. We're not talking only about hockey and football, which everyone knows about in Canada. We're talking about more niche, like cricket games or rugby games, those sports that are played by other nationalities, by immigrants, by people who have been around in Canada for 30 years, like Ellie's grandma, but aren't in the hockey culture yet. Moreover, we're also going to utilize the social media and Bell Let's Talk campaign. We all know that it's the biggest awareness campaign for Bell, and that's how the company gets known in the country. So we're actually going to leverage that by translating the different filters that we use on Snapchat and Facebook. the different videos that campaign promotes in the 4 main languages that are in French and in English in Canada. We're talking about Chinese, Spanish, Tagalog, and Punjabi. Moreover, by expanding those, we will also bring awareness about our social responsibility as a business, which will improve Bell's image throughout the country. Also, we also thought about the importance of sustainability. We all know about the 2030 goal of reducing our CO2 emissions, and it's a problem that is known worldwide. And a company like Bell has to take actions in order to prove that they are socially responsible on the environmental side. So we decided to tackle, because we are a tech company with our ALTV, to target the energy consumption. We decided to include as a feature in our ALTV, are you still there pop-up, that we can see in other streaming services such as Netflix. So after 2 episodes, the streaming platform asks the customer if they are still there. If they are not there, then the screen goes to sleep, and it helps to conserve energy. And it's a little cost solution which can make a big difference for our planet and, at the end of the day, the brand image of Bell Canada.
So now, just going back for a second to, again, reiterating why Bell should not internationalize. After all, I know the 4 of you walked in here expecting us to discuss Bell's expansion. I just want to reiterate that Bell is not best suited for the international market versus Canada, simply due to the fact that the technology being used with Alt TV, even though it's cutting edge for the Canadian market, is not necessarily cutting edge when looking at it globally. Secondly, Bell does lack expertise, with most of the international expansions being simply content licensing and not actually having any boots on the ground, any hardware, any joint ventures with outside international firms. Finally, as we know, it's already complex enough dealing with the CRTC here in Canada. Bell dealing with all these other complex regulators, each of which would want to help support and promote domestic industry, would just make Bell more complex and be time-consuming, especially in the technological field where things change in an instant. And there's really no time to waste when our technology is getting more and more outdated, when there's an opportunity to grow here in Canada. And finally, again, the lack of content rights, especially for these exclusive services abroad. Now, I'm going to take a step and look really quickly at the finances behind the Alt TV plan, or shift strategy. Now, the shift strategy we decided to measure mainly in terms of subscriber growth. Currently, for IPTV, Bell has around 1.5 million subscribers. This pales in comparison to Netflix, which is around 6 million and is the leader in the Canadian market. And just give me 1 second, and I'll be more than happy to answer your question. And we believe with the shift strategy within 5 years that Bell will be able to grow this to about 3.5 million subscribers nationwide.
I just wanted to know if those are like real to actuals. Like, did you find those numbers? Like,
Right.
Are we close to 1.5 million?
So
subscribers
1.5
per year?
million, this was from the 2017 financial report for BCE, for IPTV specifically. Now, also 2017 was when Alt TV was introduced, so these numbers do include 5 being in there. So I can't 100% vouch that they're 100% for Alt TV, but as of 2017, these were accurate for Bell. Now, with this in mind, we believe that Bell can take advantage of this great opportunity. Now, I know an 18% CAGR is astounding, and some would say even unrealistic. However, the fact is, the streaming service market in Canada is growing. If you look at 2017, where in the first half, Bell reduced their marketing of 5TV and then introduced Alt TV in about June. That year, there was about a 16% growth in IPTV subscribers alone for BCE. Now, with this in mind, we believe that Bell can continue to grow at an 18% compounded annual growth rate as people not only switch into Bell, current subscribers who are more aware of 5TV thanks to our AI-led personalized marketing, but also people who would never have been able to access Alt TV. These people who aren't 5 customers, people who have chosen either the cheapest Wi-Fi or for whatever reason that's inaccessible, as they're not in an area served by Bell. This is a new opportunity for allowing the market share to grow for Bell Alt TV. Finally, we believe due to the, again, content and convenience, we're going to have different customers switch over from Netflix, from Rogers, from these other companies, due to the fact that they're relatively low switching costs. And once you have someone in, inertia does kick in, especially when you have, again, tying 2 factors, having the exclusive content, having the exclusive convenience. And this market share growth will lead to an accompanying increase in revenue, because after all, these providers, these customers will will pay subscription fees month after month after month to ensure that they have access to the latest content only available on the Alt TV.
So now, looking at how we'll implement our strategy, the first thing that we want to do in the first 1 to 3 months is the actual decoupling of Alt TV. And this would include staff training and reassignment, which is pretty much a small cost compared to the amount of data that you'll acquire in the long run, having 20% more users actually active on the platform, and mostly immigrants. So from 3 months and onward is where we'd like to implement everything else, which would be utilizing social media, such as Lori was talking about before with the Bell Let's Talk especially, to build brand awareness and also to increase usership by just simply even translating all of the Bell Let's Talk hashtags and Snapchat filters to the 4 most common immigrant languages in Canada. So this already improves a lot of the accessibility and will continue to onward. So another thing that we really need to focus on is the content acquisition. So like we mentioned before, the first thing that you should really focus on is actually looking at things like Disney Channel, that's actually creating an online streaming channel in the US and will eventually want to expand into Canada. This is a perfect opportunity for you to grab, and you should do it right away and look for other content acquisitions throughout the time after decoupling of Alt TV to continually expand and dominate the market. And this is how you'll push out Netflix and the other types of streaming services and actually create a dominant force. So looking for more contracts with providers will just be a constant thing that you'll have to look at for the rest of the time that you implement the strategy. And for key takeaways, we want to remind you that the 2 main things that we're focusing on today is to acquire more content and to focus on convenience. And we know that this was technically an internationalization question, but we found an opportunity that cannot be missed within the Canadian market, and that's the 20% of immigrants that's here already and is only increasing year by year. So focusing on this market base of heavy content users versus just heavy internet users would be the new segment that you focus on. Utilizing AI to gather data and personalize the product offering by collecting more aggregate data and having a more wholesome image of what these people want to see on their streaming services, because it's not just going to be like Netflix Canada having all of the Anglo or Franco phones. That's not diverse enough. You need things for Alim's grandmother, like Pakistani shows. All this data will be collected, so these niche segments can actually be targeted, and people from those segments will be able to use Bell Alt TV for the rest of their lives. So we said before, an 18.8% CAGR in subscriber growth. This is very significant in the market. 18% is a lot and can tackle a significant amount of the Canadian market that's only going to grow. And LTV revenue will increase from 33 to 80 million in 5 years.
Have you calculated the risk of losing subscribers for our 5 business when we're decoupling it?
So what Alim was saying before is basically how people anyways, as students, will probably switch year after year after their plans and the benefits of those expire. So this is actually going to save you a lot of money from having people stay with at least Alt TV and use that as a constant streaming service. And I believe Alim calculated this, but the 33 to 80 million does include some of this being taken into account.
Yeah, if you don't mind stepping in, it does include this being taken into account. And also, we're a big believer in the fact that inertia is a very powerful force. The fact is that once people are subscribed to 5 TV, that they'll continue to do so. After all, there's a reason that a lot of people still buy large TVs when they can access Netflix on their phone. There's a reason that people are still cable subscribers. It's a very different experience consuming content on a large TV on a sofa with your family than it is simply on your phone. And Alt TV isn't available for these televisions. That's where 5 steps in. And as a result, we believe decoupling, in fact, opens up opportunities rather than cannibalizing existing ones.
So just to reiterate and to wrap up now finally, we sense that there's a huge opportunity in the Canadian market now to expand your services with Alt TV, and also that for Canada, Alt TV is probably one of the most revolutionary ideas, but internationally it's just not. The competitors that you're against already have these services and more, and we've looked through these options. And the best thing that you can do is focus right now on the Canadian market, especially the immigrants and heavy content users that you weren't able to tackle before, utilizing AI and actually being able to segment the market and attack that niche and gather data so that you can personalize the product offering and offer what they really want to see on their TVs.
Merci beaucoup de votre écoute. On est prêt maintenant à prendre vos questions en anglais ou en français. Évidemment, on est plus à l'aise en anglais, mais on est ouvert aux deux langues.
Did you know that AllTV already proposed to its customers the possibility to broadcast channels from other countries? I don't know if Pakistan is on the list, but there's Japan, Germany. That's already available on the platform.
All right, so the first thing is that we saw this information, and to find it, I had to click through 5 different things. I had to enter my location. Now, for someone like my grandmother, right, that's not going to be accessible. For people who are visible minorities who not necessarily have either the best grasp of English, who don't have the time or effort to go through this, they would be unaware that AllTV is targeted them. After all, I've never seen an AllTV ad, and AllTV doesn't advertise on these minority magazines, on minority TV channels. And if these people don't know AllTV exists, in my opinion, it's great that there are these Japanese, German channels, but if nobody knows it exists, nobody's going to use it. And therefore, Bell's going to conclude as a failure, and more importantly, these customers are going to conclude that Bell simply isn't an option for them.
So one key part of your strategy is content acquisition. Content acquisition is expensive. Have you assessed what we may have to spend in terms of content, and whether the $80 million a year would be sufficient in order to cover that content acquisition?
All right, so this is one aspect where we believe that Bell's current expertise is they're not solely acquiring content in terms of being only for online streaming. Bell's also acquiring it for everything such as the pay-per-view channels that still exist. They're still acquiring it for the cable shows. So we didn't assess it solely in terms of AllTV, but rather looking at BCE as a whole. And looking at the numbers with BCE's entire TV subscription, not just Internet Protocol TV, it ends up working out. And we believe that this content acquisition pays off in the long run. As after all, having a one-stop shop and being able to crowd out these competitors of the market and having a larger chunk of Canada will pay off for Bell in the long term.
And if I can add on to that, one of the key differentiating factor of AllTV is the live TV, especially with sport, with TSN, which is the biggest sports channel in Canada. So we think that by doing a bit more of marketing campaign, we can get more customers for those channels which aren't linked to content purchases.
And based on your market analysis, do you guys think people will start layering and start bundling multiple IPTV services, or will they just use AllTV?
All right, so based on our analysis, it ended up that if people were bundling, it would be maybe 2 services. After all, once you get past 2 or 3, it gets confusing. I don't know whether my show is on this service or this service or this service, and there's no need for people to go through that hassle, and it ends up with an increase in torrenting and illegal streaming, which has been happening over the past few years despite Netflix being in decline. Now we believe by having AllTV, this one-stop shop, right, will lead to people bundling less, as they'll be able to solve the majority of their content needs throughout one single solution provided by them.
Do you want to discuss your internationalization backup slide?
On that.
Yeah.
So, to be perfectly frank, we first started out with the perspective that we would internationalize, and we even selected the Indian market to go to, except then we found out that all of the telecommunications companies, the dominant ones, such as Airtel, all have live streaming TV services, and they're even more than what Bell offers currently. It hooks up to your Amazon Prime account and has so many other features. So even if we partnered and joint ventured, which was originally our strategy with these companies, it just wouldn't make a difference because they already have that product offering. So what are we giving to them while we get that data and all that benefits? They already have everything necessary. And the USA, we saw it's highly fragmented. It's several parts in Latin America. They already have state-controlled monopolies. Europe, again, highly fragmented, not a large market size. You would just have to put a lot of effort into development for the European market for not that much of a benefit. So it just turned out that even our best market and assumption wouldn't have worked with the current product offerings. And you can bet that in Europe and USA, there are already telecommunications companies offering the same kinds of services that the Indian ones are, with an even better live streaming service than we have in Canada right now.
Good.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Merci.
Okay, thank you.
Merci.
Félicitations.
Thank you.
Bonne journée.
Merci à toi aussi. Merci.
Bon
Thank you
repos.
so much.
Go have a beer on us.
Take a nap, maybe.
C'était excellent.
C'était bon. Même à la fin, j'étais comme, tu sais, j'essayais de me prendre des questions, comment je pourrais lui demander ça, puis il
Ouais.
répondait comme automatiquement à la question.
J'essayais juste de lancer des questions juste pour voir quand il répond. Très
Ouais,
sérieux.
ben, parce qu'ils ont quand même des points sur la
Et
période de questions,
Et
mais.
je voulais qu'il parle aussi de.
Ouais, ouais, oui, non, très bonne
Ouais, mais
question. Très bonne
c'était
question.
très réfléchi.
Ouais.
Ouais. Non, non.
Puis
J'ai pas
honnêtement,
grand chose à dire.
C'est pas pour rien que Belle va pas aller dans ce
Ouais.
là. C'est
Ben non,
exactement pour les raisons
oui,
qu'on
oui,
mentionne.
exactement.
Ils
Puis on
n'ont
quand
pas,
même-
forcé, ils ont pas forcé la réponse pour le cas.
Non, c'est ça, puis je
Mais-
trouve que ça
mais-
montre
mais je
quand même
pense que
beaucoup
mais-
d'introspection. Dire comme, je sais que je fais un cas international, mais je vais pas répondre une destination internationale pour répondre au cas si c'est pas la bonne solution.
Mais est-ce qu'on ne fait pas déjà le decoupling?
Non, je pense
Dernièrement?
pas qu'on fait du decoupling.
Ouais, je pense que récemment, ouais,
Ah ouais?
on l'achète.